Why does God allow suffering? After a terrible battle in one war-torn land, thousands of civilian women and children who had been killed were buried in a mass grave, surrounded by markers. Each marker bore this inscription: why? Sometimes that is the most painful question of all. People ask sadly when war, disaster, disease, or crime takes their innocent loved ones, destroys their home, or brings them untold suffering in other ways. They want to know why such tragedies befall them. Why does God allow suffering? If Jehovah God is all-powerful, loving, wise, and just, why is the world so full of hatred and injustice? Have you ever wondered about these things yourself? Is it wrong to ask why God allows suffering? Some worry that asking such a question means that they do not have enough faith or that they are showing disrespect for God. When reading the Bible, however, you will find that faithful, God-fearing people had similar questions. For example, the prophet Habakkuk asked Jehovah, "Why do you make me witness wrongdoing? And why do you tolerate oppression? Why are destruction and violence before me? And why do quarreling and conflict abound?" Habakkuk chapter 1 verse 3. Did Jehovah scold the faithful prophet Habakkuk for asking such questions? No, instead, God included Habakkuk's sincere words in the inspired Bible record. God also helped him to get a clearer understanding of matters and to gain greater faith. Jehovah wants to do the same for you. Remember, the Bible teaches that He cares for you. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7. God hates wickedness and the suffering it causes far more than any human does. Why then is there so much suffering in the world? Why so much suffering? People of various religions have gone to their religious leaders and teachers to ask why there is so much suffering. Often, the response is that suffering is God's will, and that He long ago determined everything that would ever happen, including tragic events. Many are told that God's will are mysterious, or that He brings death upon people, even children, so that He can have them in heaven with Him. As you have learned, though Jehovah God never causes what is bad. The Bible says, it is unthinkable for the true God to act wickedly, for the Almighty to do wrong. Job chapter 34 verse 10. Do you know why people make the mistake of blaming God for all the suffering in the world? In many cases, they blame Almighty God because they think that He is the ruler of this world. They do not know a simple but important truth that the Bible teaches. The real ruler of this world is Satan, the devil. The Bible clearly states, the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. 1 John chapter 5 verse 19. When you think about it, does that not make sense? This world reflects the personality of the invisible spirit creature who is misleading the entire inhabited earth. Satan is hateful, deceptive, and cruel, so the world under his influence is so full of hatred, deceit, and cruelty. That is one reason why there is so much suffering. A second reason why there is so much suffering is that, as discussed in the chapter, mankind has been imperfect and sinful ever since the rebellion in the Garden of Eden. Sinful humans tend to struggle for dominance, and this results in wars, oppression, and suffering. Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 1, chapter 8 verse 9. A third reason for suffering is time and unexpected events. Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 11. In a world without Jehovah as a protective ruler, People may suffer because they happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. It is comforting for us to know that God does not cause suffering. He is not responsible for the wars, the crimes, the oppression, or even the natural disasters that cause people to suffer. Still, we need to know, why does Jehovah allow all this suffering? If He is the Almighty, He has the power to stop it. Why then does He hold back? The loving God that we have come to know must have a good reason. Vital issue is raised. To find out why God allows suffering, we need to think back to the time when suffering began. When Satan led Adam and Eve into disobeying Jehovah, an important question was raised. Satan did not call into question powers of Jehovah. Even Satan knows that there is no limit to Jehovah's power. Rather, Satan questioned Jehovah's right to rule. By calling God a liar who withholds good from his subjects, Satan charged that Jehovah is a bad ruler. Genesis chapter 3, verse 2 to 5. Satan implied that mankind would be better off without God's rulership. This was an attack on Jehovah's sovereignty, his right to rule. Adam and Eve rebelled against Jehovah. In fact, they said, "We do not need Jehovah as our ruler. We can decide ourselves what is right and what is wrong." How could Jehovah settle that issue? How could He teach all intelligent creatures that the rebels were wrong, and that is way through laziness? Someone might say that God should simply have destroyed the rebels and made a fresh start. But Jehovah had stated His purpose to fill the earth, the offspring of Adam and Eve, and He wanted them to live in an earthly paradise. Genesis chapter 1, verse 20. Jehovah always fulfills His purposes. Isaiah chapter 55, verse 10 and 11. Besides that, getting rid of the rebels in Eden would not have answered the question had been raised regarding Jehovah's right to rule. Let us consider an illustration. Imagine that a teacher is telling his student how to solve a difficult problem. A clever but rebellious student claims that the teacher's way of solving the problem is wrong. Implying that the teacher is not capable, this rebel insists that he knows a better way to solve the problem. Some students think that he is right, and they also become rebellious. What should a teacher do? If he throws the rebels out of the class, what will be the effect on the other students? Will they not believe that their fellow student and those who join them are right? All the other students in the class might lose respect for the teacher, thinking that he is afraid of being proved wrong. But suppose that the teacher allows the rebel to show the class how he would solve the problem. Jehovah has done something similar to what the teacher does. Remember that the rebels in Eden were not only ones involved. Millions of angels were watching. How Jehovah handled the rebellion would greatly affect all those angels and eventually all intelligent creation. So what has Jehovah done? He has allowed Satan to show how he would rule mankind. God has also allowed humans to govern themselves under Satan's guidance. The teacher in our illustration knows that the rebel and the students on his side are wrong. But he also knows that allowing them the opportunity to try to prove their point will benefit the whole class. When the rebels fail, all honest students will see that the teacher is the only one qualified to lead the class. They will understand why the teacher thereafter removes any rebels from the class. Similarly, Jehovah knows that all honest-hearted humans and angels will benefit from seeing that Satan and his fellow rebels have failed and that humans cannot govern themselves. Like Jeremiah of old, they will learn this vital truth. I will know, O Jehovah, that man's way does not belong to him. It does not belong to man who is walking, even to direct his step. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23. Why so long? Why has Jehovah allowed suffering to go on for so long? And why does he not prevent bad things from happening? Well, consider two things that teacher in our illustration would not do. First, he would not stop the rebel student from presenting his case. Second, the teacher would not have the rebel to make his case. Similarly, consider two things that Jehovah has determined not to do. First, he has not stopped Satan and those who side with him from trying to prove that they are right. Allowing time to pass has thus been necessary. In the thousands of years of human history, mankind has been able to try every form of self-rule or human government. Mankind has made some advances in science and other fields, but injustice, poverty, crime, and war have grown even worse. Human rule has now been shown to be a failure. Second, Jehovah has not helped Satan to rule this world. If God were to prevent horrible crimes, for instance, would he not in effect be supporting the case of the rebels? Would God not be making people think that perhaps humans can govern themselves without disastrous results? If Jehovah were to act in that way, he would become party to a lie. However, it is impossible for God to lie. What though about all the harm that has been done during the long rebellion against God? We do well to remember that Jehovah is almighty. Therefore, he can and will undo the effects of mankind's suffering. As we have already learned, the ruining of our planet will be undone by the turning the earth into paradise. The effects of the sin will be removed through faith in Jesus' ransom sacrifice, and the effects of death will be reversed by means of the resurrection. God will thus use Jesus to break up the works of the devil. 1 John chapter 3, verse 8. Jehovah will bring all of this about at just the right time. We can be glad that he has not acted sooner, for his patience has given us the opportunity to learn the truth and to serve him. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9 and 10. Meanwhile, God has been actively seeking sincere worshippers and helping them to endure any suffering that may come upon them in this troubled world. Some might wonder, could all the suffering have been prevented if God had created Adam and Eve in such a way that they could not rebel? To answer that question, you need to remember a precious gift that Jehovah has given you. How will you use the gift from God? As was noted, humans were created with free will. Do you realize what a precious gift that is? God has made countless animals, and these are driven largely by instinct. Man has made some robots that can be programmed to follow every command. Would we be happy if God had made us like that? No. We are glad to have the freedom to make choices about what kind of person to become, what course of life to pursue, what friendships to form, and so on. We love to have a measure of freedom, and that is God wants us to enjoy. Jehovah is not interested in service performed under compulsion. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7. To illustrate what would please a parent more, a child saying, I love you because he is told to say it, or he's saying it freely from the heart. So the question is, how will you use the free will that Jehovah has given you? Satan, Adam, and Eve made the words possible use of free will. They rejected Jehovah God. What will you do? You have the opportunity to put the marvelous gift of free will to the best possible use. You can join the millions who have taken a stand on Jehovah's side. They make God rejoice because they take an active part in proving Satan a liar and a miserable failure as a ruler. Proverbs chapter 27 verse 11. You too can do that by choosing the right course of life.